shouldn't be white only, but I'm in Jones County, North Carolina, and if they say it's white only, fuck the federal laws. In fact, fuck you, nigger, for getting stranded in our county. Real talk. So imagine Gaddafi. Gaddafi is giving offers to weapons for black folks to defend themselves in white America when you've got Ronald Reagan as president at the height of white reaction to the civil rights gains, which little they were, to black people. Do you see how Gaddafi could have motherfuckers mad that you're blowing up white people in Germany through giving money to the Red Brigade? And there are many, many other groups. You're helping the PLO blow up planes and shit. I mean, Gaddafi's just doing shit saying fuck white people. And he's a little bit Arab and he's a little bit African because he's half black, half Arab. White folks don't like unity. And when Gaddafi started talking about blacks and Arabs working together, and I'm not going to even be mad at people that are Christian. So for the asshole Muslims who deep down inside hate all Christians and Jews, and they also hate Alawi, they hate Alawite, they hate Alavi, they hate Shia, they hate Karashite, Hanbalite, they hate Druze. Come on, brother Q. I'm calming shit down. And I hate you based on which hadith you follow, and there are lots of hadiths. So Gaddafi, shit. The line was long of people who fucking hate this man. He was also hated by the French and the Americans. He was hated by the crooked African elite who he would become more important than. He was also hated because he helped usurp governments in Sierra Leone and Liberia by arming people that were friends to him. So there's a lot of people that fucking hated Gaddafi. But they couldn't quite get rid of him until they put in a grinning bisexual that you love and worship as your Lord and Savior, Ofaga. And it's interesting, when Obama became president, Gaddafi hailed this as a great thing, praised him, says, I'm here for you, brother. I'll do anything for you. And what, about 4 years into Obama's administration, not quite 4, I remember I was in Gaddafi's house on the 17th of January, 2011. And Gaddafi told us that white people were going to invade Africa again and they would probably kill him. Well, didn't it happen? Didn't it? Didn't America steal their money? Didn't they freeze their assets? Didn't they bomb the people and use experimental weapons on them? Didn't they allow the Arab Libyans to mass murder the Tuaregans? These are blacks who've been in Libya for 3,000 years. They murdered people all over Libya that were black. They used racism, Arab racism against black and African people, to exterminate people, to steal their organs, to rape, to butcher, to slaughter. All in the name of stopping Gaddafi, who was killing his own people. That's the shit that your asses were told from the American vomit stream media. They used depleted uranium, which causes cancer. Libya's been destroyed. Libya hasn't been rebuilt. Billions and billions of their dollars stolen, looted. They'll never get it back. The person that runs the eastern half of Libya, where Derna is, his last name is Haftar. And it's almost like Hitler. He is a CIA operative that runs the eastern half of Libya where these goddamn floods took place. And like I said, Gaddafi was hated by some Libyans for being a nigger lover. So they felt killing black people of all types was a way to show that they hated Gaddafi. So they would go into hospitals and murder black babies and their incubators, murder black patients, kill anyone. Black and male was a soldier for Gaddafi. People who were there that would cut the grass, that were domestic service servants, the trash men were all called soldiers, murdered. I know what it's like to be at the border between Tunisia and Libya and watch people shoot literally at Africans in front of me as people trying to get out of the country to avoid being raped, murdered, sold into slavery. Obama, when he began to bomb Libya, and let me just do this, brother. It's going to take me about 15 more minutes, and we're going to stop, and we can take questions. If you remember WikiLeaks, that was created by Julian Assange, who's in jail in America. They're trying to kill him slowly by not letting him go. Even though the government of Australia has asked for him to be released compassionately, they won't. But one of the cables that he released, that he leaked out, was called Down and Dirty in Derna. I ran across this cable in 2010. And I sent it to a gentleman by the name of Sam Husseini, who works for a independent media group. And I told him this, and this is why I don't give a damn what people think, Brother Q, and why certain people do take me seriously, and why people ask me questions. And all I can say is there is such a thing as God and this prophecy. I read this wire, and it just shocked me how the CIA had planned to start this racial war and revolution out of Derna to take down all of Gaddafi, and how they had set everything in place. Down and Dirty in Derna. It's in the WikiLeaks files if you can get your hands on it. Let me just tell you something. I read it, and I called Mr. Sam Husseini, and I says, Mr. Husseini, have you seen this WikiLeaks file? Because Mr. Husseini is Palestinian. I says, Mr. Husseini, do you realize they're planning to destroy Libya, and there's going to be all kinds of racial violence and so forth? And this is completely CIA. My God. Wow. And I said, but you know what? The CIA we can believe. But I says, what I'm telling you, whoever wrote this cable, I don't know them. Their name isn't on it. But let me tell you how I feel. And I said to him, brother, I'm not trying to pull your leg or impress you. It's alleged, it's been said by people that me, Randy, has some kind of gift from God to see through shit. And I says, the person that wrote this cable is a white, homosexual, bisexual man with blonde hair and more than likely blue eyes. And I said, he's going to get murdered behind him dabbling with all of these vile people that he's organized to take down Libya. He'll be killed within a year. I don't even know who it is. And I had that conversation. He listened to me, hung up the phone. I forgot about it. About a year later, this man called me, and he was very upset. And his first question is, who the fuck have you been talking to? I'm thinking, huh? I mean, who are you working with? He says, I don't work with anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. I says, what's wrong? He says, well, you were saying that this guy was going to get killed. You were saying that this guy was, well, this is, yeah, oh yeah, that. Well, that was what I was feeling. So what do you mean that's what you're feeling? I says, that's what I was feeling. He says, no, it happened. How'd you know? I says, what happened? He said, you didn't know? I says, man, I don't follow this stuff. I just saw this thing. I called you. I thought you were someone that wouldn't treat me like I'm crazy if I told you what was on my mind. He says, is that all? I says, I don't know what else to tell you. Why would I lie to you? So you don't know who wrote it? I says, no, I told you I never knew who wrote it. Do you know? He said, yes, I know. I says, well, who wrote it then? He said, the U.S. Ambassador Stevens to Libya wrote that. He's the CIA asset. I says, okay. He says, it's not okay. I says, well, why not? He says, they just killed him in Libya. You told me they were going to kill him, and they killed him. Look at him. He's got blonde hair like you described him. So I looked him up, and he had blonde hair. He got killed in eastern Libya. Like I said, he'd get killed in eastern Libya. I didn't even know who he was. And certain people say he was linked to human trafficking, and there's a strong possibility that he was LGBTQ. You feel me, brother Q? I don't know shit. I didn't know anything. I read it and I called somebody to say, this stuff comes up. Who do you tell when you see this? I mean, it's shit's shocking to me. I'm like, damn, what do you do? Anyway, so he got killed, but you have to understand this guy was the one who helped set up the stuff, and it was done out of Derna. That's my introduction to Derna as a city. I knew about certain cities in Libya. I knew about Tripoli, and I knew about maybe Benghazi. I knew about Tribuk, and some, but I didn't know about Derna. I never thought of Derna. Okay, that was my introduction to Derna. And by the way, when the war came, those people came out of Derna and they mass murdered Black people. They accused all of them of being Gaddafi's people, and they went all over the country killing Black Libyans, mass murdering them from Derna. And they even had little private jails where they would cut off Black women's and Black girls' breasts and let them bleed to death, and would use their titties with blood on it to spell out that this section has been cleansed. It had run all the Black people out of town, had killed or slaughtered or raped Black people. But they had little private jails where they would make porn snuff films where they would torture, rape, and kill Black women in Derna. So when y'all see this damn flood, I'm not really, how can I say, emotionally predisposed to feel like that wasn't a judgment of God, but I want to add something to it. The people in Derna, like throughout Libya many years ago, if you're familiar with Pacifica Radio, I know you've heard of WBAI. I know you have. You're up in Jersey. You've heard of WBAI, haven't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
WBAI was our only radio station that was worth anything.
Okay, so you know that I used to do stuff on WBAI very rarely. They even had me come in and talk about Libya, and they had me on WPFW, which I know you're familiar with down here in DC. And they'd have people come and argue and try to make me out a liar. They had this really silly bitch, and these people tried to jump me on the radio, and I embarrassed everybody's asses. And they were talking this dumb shit. And in the middle of the show, I kept saying to the lady, I get it that you hate Gaddafi. I can accept that, but you should at least, on a public information station, be factual in your hatred. But to be afactual and atopical and then try to counter me, you don't look very bright outside your studio. I know it's your show. I'm not impressed by that. And I told her, you're not going to have the show very long. They cut her ass off 6 months later after I told the bitch, you won't have the show much longer. She actually tried to get me to come in for another show because I beat her ass down so badly. And her producer began to check online to see whether I was telling the truth or not. Then she got embarrassed. Find out that I have no reason to lie. I don't worship Gaddafi, but it says, what are you going to replace him with? Something 100 times worse. I don't want it worse. If I cared about people, the Arab and African alike, I don't want them to have worse. If you could give better than Gaddafi, give it. But if you're going to give worse, no. Let me share something with you. What did Obama and them do? In order to get rid of Gaddafi, they destroyed all the infrastructure of Libya. Libya was the most developed country in Africa, and Gaddafi had planned to do a lot more. He had created the great man-made river. There is more fresh water under the soil of Africa than any place else in the world. And countries that you consider deserts are water rich, but there's an under aquifer, a Nubian aquifer, Libyan aquifer under the Sahara Desert that was bringing fresh water. Libyans didn't even have to pay water bills. Farmers in Libya got free water to grow their crops, free water. And the water was so pure, it was good for you with no fluoride, no chemicals. By the way, the same country, France, that steals uranium from Niger, steals the good water from Africa for free and sells it at a premium in France. Veolia water. Yeah, it's stolen from Africa. In fact, they even bombed that to make certain the people couldn't have water. At least Gaddafi gave them water. You know, you can't live without water, right? So do you understand that Obama and them literally set the people up to die of thirst? You can only go 3 days without water. I mean, you have to have some kind of water. Didn't I tell you the story about the Nigerians that got on the rudder of an American ship? And they were on the rudder drinking seawater as they sailed from Nigeria to America. Even seawater, you can survive for a period of time with all the salt and bullshit in it. But you've got to have some water. So the bridges and dams and roads and everything that had been built up by the Gaddafi regime, and they were going to put up more, was all destroyed by Obama and the former French head of state who was there before Macron, Sarkozy, and then the Italian dude, Berlusconi, who are all crooked bastards, all lied, stole, and cheated. And they mass killed, mass murdered, exploited the people of Libya. And by the way, the reason I brought up WBAI, my friend, is that I was on WPFW, and there was a debate between myself, Black Panther legend, and number 2 man of the All African People's Revolutionary Party, Guinea Conakry, Mr. Bob Brown. He and I debated with the racist Arab pro-American anti-Gaddafi faction on radio here. And I basically said, whether you like me or not, I'm against the United States bombing any country. I don't want American bombs dropped on people in Libya. And the Arab Libyans said, I want them to bomb us. Please bomb us. Bomb us. And they started screaming, it's our country. We want them to bomb us. Can you believe that? It's all on radio. They were begging to be bombed. And they treated me like a monster, say it's wrong for you to bomb the infrastructure, that's going to cause a loss of life. And they shouted me down, bomb us, bomb us, bomb us. Okay, well, they bombed those fucking dams outside of Derna. And look at what the fuck happened. They used depleted uranium, which causes cancer. Let me just say to you, when I came home from Libya for months, when I would sneeze a paper towel full of blood. And you could taste the metal in the air from the depleted uranium that they were using. They bombed everything. My sense of smell and taste changed after I went through going through Libya back to Tunisia, being exposed to whatever's in the air from the bombing. I wonder how many Libyans will die from cancer from the depleted uranium ordnance, which is illegal under international law, that was used on innocent civilians. They have all kinds of bombs and things that they were using. They have a bomb that they can drop that will suck all the oxygen out of the air and cause people to suffocate. They did everything to the people